So here's the scenario. You have a team that is underperforming, and there are some cultural issues that need to be addressed. There's an inability to give and receive feedback, maybe. There's some lack of accountability that's been going on, and it's been causing some friction between some of the team members. Now it's starting to affect productivity and the team results. Your executive leader is now looking to you to turn things around, to create a high performance team. How do you address it? And importantly, how do you frame the conversation in order to address it? See, whenever you need to address an issue or with a person, an individual, or a team collective, the way that you frame your conversation will influence the perceptions and the mindsets of your team. So let's explore two different approaches here by two different managers. Let's think about the internal frame for a moment. Let's consider James. James, he likes to address issues head on. He's a bit of a go-getter and prides himself on achieving results and overcoming difficult challenges. He's recently been promoted, looking to prove himself. Now, his philosophy is that clarity is kindness, and the best thing for the team is to shine a spotlight on issues to bring them into the open so everybody can address them explicitly and quickly. And so he calls his team together and he goes, all right, team, we have a cultural problem that needs to be addressed if we're going to become a high performance team. I want you to consider, how would you react to that statement? You know, his team began to shift in their seats. Some started looking at each other sideways. Others were looking down at the desk in front of them, but no one was looking at James. So he had lost his team. James had framed this issue as an internal problem. And you know what, to be fair, it was. It's a problem that's in the team, with team members, between team members. The framing highlighted the deficiency of individuals and the deficiency of the relationships between them, making the members feel like they were the problem. Now, in such cases, individuals perceive that they have lost respect and often a sense of status within the team. As psychological defenses get triggered, walls go up, and that problematic behavior, such as blaming other people, just gets exacerbated. Now, there are times when addressing issues directly with an internal frame can really work. But what it requires is a commitment by each individual to the team, to the organization, and importantly, to the leader who's addressing the issue. Their commitment to those need to be greater than the discomfort of owning their deficiencies in front of their peers. And for too many individuals, for too many teams, that's just not the reality. So there's a different way that you can approach it. And this one uses an external frame. So I want you to consider Beth, all right? In this scenario, Beth is an experienced manager. She has a track record of taking average teams and supercharging them. She too believes that clarity is kindness and accountability is absolutely crucial to high performance. However, as she prepares to address the team, rather than looking inwards, she actually starts to look outwards beyond the team. So the organization has recently introduced a new strategy that will require them to stretch in order to meet their targets. And Beth is like, perfect, this is what I need. So she calls the team together and begins. We all know that there's a new strategy going to require a lot of us moving forward. There's going to be some changes necessary, and if we want to make sure that we're able to do what is asked of us and to become a high performance team, we're going to need to make those changes. Now, when Beth made that statement, all eyes kept on her. There were several nods around the room. Several members visibly actually kind of leaned in. They were all engaged and ready. See, the key here is that Beth used an external stimulus to address an internal issue. She framed the conversation around the strategy that the team had to execute, not the dysfunction that they were living with. And this does several things. For Beth, firstly, it builds credibility, trust, and influence because the internal framing is reactive, dealing with problems that are already occurring, problems that have occurred under the leader's watch, and therefore people associate the problems with the leader. But an external framing of the conversation, well, that's actually proactive. It's making internal adjustments in response to external changes. And that's good leadership. We want leaders to be proactive. We don't want them to stick their head in the sand and everything else around changes that they do nothing. So people want and expect good proactive leadership. And using an external frame does exactly that. What it also does, the focus of the issue is really the strategy, right? The external challenge that the team must work together in order to address. And in this way, this external framing, it unites the team and increases the level of commitment. Because the issue is outside the team, people don't feel like they are the problem. And that results in less defensiveness, less blaming. The mindset that they adopt is one that is more positive. They are more likely to own it and to deal with their own individual deficiencies so that the team can do what they need to achieve the strategy. I regularly use this particular approach of using an external stimulus to deal with an internal issue when I'm working with teams. The external stimuli can be very different and very varied, right? So it might be a new senior executive that has different priorities. It might be a new strategy, as in this particular scenario, a new competitor enters the market, a new technology is introduced. Maybe there's an organizational restructure that's been executed. It doesn't really matter what this stimulus is, but you're using it as a catalyst to address an internal issue. When we use this external frame for these conversations, it doesn't guarantee success. You'll still have to do the hard work of dealing with individuals, of managing relationships, of explicitly addressing poor behavior. But by framing the conversation as a proactive response to an external stimulus, you avoid triggering defenses. You begin the journey of the team being more engaged with a more positive mindset. Means you position yourself and the team for success. So my question to you is, what are the dynamics and what's the issues within the team that you want to address? Have a look beyond the team. What are the external stimulus that you could use in order to address those issues? Until next time, lead well.